bright red leaves, and it's always 3 leaves to 1 stem. So this is poison ivy right here, this big one. This is poison ivy on the rock, this is poison ivy, this is poison ivy, that's poison ivy, that's poison ivy. Poison ivy,
Dude, that was me.
after it comes up in the spring, it doesn't look bright red anymore, it turns green, and the stem at the bottom
Watch her touch it.
usually looks very brown, like a little stick sticking out of the ground, and the leaves are very jagged. And when they come up, you notice they're quite shiny, and that's because of the oils that are in the leaves. And that's what usually gives people the allergic reaction, where they start getting the rash and feeling itchy and everything. And somebody asked when we were walking down, why don't we get rid of all the poison ivy if it's so bad for us? Well, it's because there's an animal in our forest that loves to eat poison ivy. The Wendat people, when they were here, they wouldn't have minded poison ivy being here either, because it gives them a couple different things. It'd be like a fresh deli because of the animal that eats it, and it would also be Shoppers Drug Mart because they can turn it into a medicine. And the animal that eats our poison ivy is the biggest one that I said is in our forest.
White-tailed deer.
White-tailed deer. White-tailed deer love poison ivy. They eat it all the time. So if there's a big patch of poison ivy, the Wendat people would probably stake that area out with their bow and arrow or spears or whatever, waiting for a white-tailed deer to come, and they would get the white-tailed deer for dinner. If the white-tailed deer wasn't cooked properly, they could sometimes get bacteria, little insects inside, and they would eat it and then get really upset stomachs, right? Get really sick. Poison ivy then can become a medicine to get rid of that bacteria that is now growing inside the Wendat people's bodies. So they would take the poison ivy, harvest it very carefully, so they pick it very carefully, boil it in hot water, turn it into a tea, and then they drink it. And that kind of breaks down the chemicals that would give them an allergic reaction, but it does get rid of the bacteria inside their bodies. Okay, so Shoppers Drug Mart, fresh deli, right in this area. Okay, question?
So, if we get the rash, why doesn't the white-tailed deer get it?
They're eating it, so they ingest, and they have different enzymes in their saliva and in their body that would break down the chemicals differently. And it also doesn't really touch their external skin. Ours, it touches our skin, this organ, right? They have the fur to protect them. So, but if a white-tailed deer walked through poison ivy, it could get the oils on its fur, and say later on you went and you pet this white-tailed deer, or perhaps your dog that wandered through poison ivy, you can still get the oils on your skin. If you walk through poison ivy and it gets on your clothing, and you go to change your clothing later on, you can still get poison ivy reaction from that, from the oils that would be on your clothing. So really important when you're hiking, just make sure you're looking around. Good rule of thumb is leaves of 3, leave it be. So let me hear you say that.
Leaves of 3, leave it be.
Or let it be, leave it be, sure. Either one works. One important thing, I don't know if I said it, and maybe you can remind me. You can always see the stem between the 3 leaves. Did I say that? No?
Yeah.
You can always see a little bit of the stem between the 3 leaves, because you'll see a lot of 3-leaf plants in the forest. And poison ivy you can tell because you can see that stem in between the 3 leaves. Yep. It will spread. If you get